In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the differences between the Phantom of the Opera book and the 2004 film adaptation. The thing that's unique about the book is that it's framed as if the author Gaston Leroux is a investigative journalist who's sifting through records, interviewing witnesses, going over documents to try to find out the truth about this story. The story is framed as if Gaston Leroux is trying to figure out actually what actually happened here. In fact, the first line right at the beginning of the book, it flat out says that the Phantom is a real person that is a real person and not a ghost. But then right at the beginning of the story, we hear people telling these stories about how they've supposedly had these supernatural encounters with this ghost or phantom, you might say. Therefore, there's this dissonance or this clash between the fact that we know that the phantom is actually a real person versus all these stories we hear from people about how they've seemingly encountered this supernatural being. Also, in the 2004 film adaptation, the chandelier crash occurs at the end of the movie, right after the point of no return song, whereas in the book, the chandelier crash happens in the middle of the story when Carlotta croaks. Also, in the book, it's never actually made clear how exactly the Phantom got Carlotta to croak, but we know that it was some kind of trick because the Phantom or Eric in the book is actually a real person, not a supernatural entity. Whereas in the 2004 film, we flat out see the Phantom switch this container with this container that Carlotta is using to spray stuff into her mouth so she can see better. The Phantom switches it so that when Carlotta sprays this stuff in her mouth, it causes her to croak. Also, in the book, the Phantom's disfigurement is far more severe than is in the 2004 film, to the point where he's basically in some ways, a walking skeleton because he doesn't have all that much skin and he doesn't have very much hair. He doesn't even have a nose for that matter. Whereas in the 2004 film, he's just merely disfigured on one side of his face. He's just disfigured on this side of the face. And it's not even all that bad. I mean, it's just his skin's red. He has some welts and his hair is not there totally, so he wears a wig to cover that up, but still his disfigurement is pretty mild, frankly. It really comes off more like the Phantom has a little more than a mild sunburn rather than he's actually disfigured. Another big difference is that in the book, there's this character called the Persian who knows the Phantom really well. He has a special connection with him and first met him years ago and, in fact, saved him. Whereas in the 2004 film, the character of Madame Jury basically serves the same role that the Persian does in the book. She's the one who has a special connection to the Phantom and knows him better than anyone. Though the backstory is definitely different in terms of how these people first met the Phantom. Because in the case of the 2004 film, it's revealed that Madame Jury first met the Phantom when he was actually a child. She saved him from these horrible, horrible people who were treating him so badly. Whereas in the book, the Persian didn't meet the Phantom when he was a child. Another big difference is that in the book, it's basically indicated that the Phantom willed himself to die of a broken heart, whereas in the 2004 film, after Christine and Raoul leave his lair, The Phantom smashes up all the mirrors in his lair, and then he just escapes through one of the mirrors, and we don't know what happens to him after that. He does. We never hear that he dies, but we never learn what actually happened to him or where he went. Whereas in the book, it's made clear that after Christine left, the Phantom thought, what more do I have to live for without Christine, without the one person who understood me in a way that no one else did? I don't have anything left to live for, and so there's no point in continuing to live any further. And thus, the Phantom allows himself to die.